Mm. Yes, dear children, today we'll be doing the chapter on plate tectonics, and this is distribution of oceans and continent. First thing that you should know that there were two map makers. One was Abraham Ortelius and the other was Antonio Pellegrin. Both of them showed all the continents together. They cut the continents and put them together. So this was what they did. Now it was Alfred Wegener who took clue from this, and he put a theory called continental drift theory. Now this theory was given in 1912, and he said that in the past there was a PANGAEA, and this PANGAEA was surrounded by water, and the water that surrounded it made it was called Panthalassa. Now the PANGAEA got divided into two parts, and one part was the Laurasia and the other part was your Gondwana land, right? So by now, how many questions have we done? First question is, name the two map makers who thought that world can be put together, the continents can be put together. It is Abraham Ortelius and Antonio Pellegrin. And who gave the theory of continental drift? It is Alfred Wegener. Next question is, what is PANGAEA? So PANGAEA is the land mass, and the sea around it is called as Panthalassa. So the PANGAEA got divided into two parts. One was Laurasia and one was Gondwana. And then this Laurasia and Gondwana got further divided. Now these are some evidences which he suggested. One is matching of the continents. So what does he say is that Africa and South America, both of them have such a boundary that they look as if they were once upon a time joining each other. And when Bullard in 1964 tried to see this, and he saw that at the depth of 1000 fathom, he found that the match between Africa and South America was exactly perfect. So he said that this is Jig-Saw-Fit. So why did he choose this line of 1000 fathom deep line? Because he wanted to remove the impact of waves, because 1000 fathom below the sea there can be no impact of waves. So that is why he did that. Now further if you see, further we see the rocks of same age. So what do we find? That the rocks that are existing on both the side, if you study the rocks, what we will find that the radiometric dating, if we do, we will find that rocks of both the continents, be it Brazil or Western Africa, you will find that they are of the same age, right? So Brazil and Western Africa, they are both different continents. One is in South America, one is in Africa, but both of them are having the same type of rocks and how old are they? They are 200 million years old. So this is one thing. Now the next suggestion was that he said that tillits which are existing. What are tillits? If you try to understand what are tillits, tillits are the very sharp stones which are existing in the glaciers. Now what happens as the glacier moves, it embeds in itself a lot of stones, and those stones, when the glacier keeps moving, those stones get scratch marks and they become very sharp. Just like river rolls and makes the stones round, in a glacier the stone cannot move because it has got attached to the snow and it gets marks on it, which shows that it was a part of the glacier. So what do we find? That there are extensive glaciation existing. And where is it existing? In the places where there should have been no glaciation. So how come glaciation is existing in the area where there are no glaciers today? So this means in the past they must have been somewhere at a different location. And here I should tell you that the North Pole and the South Pole of the world that we have studied, it also has changed from in different ages. there was a time when the north there have been 6 changes in the North Pole and South Pole. It's not mentioned here, but it's a fact which we all know. As you go further in higher studies, you will understand that. Now, placer deposits. Now, what are placer deposits? If you try to understand what are placer deposits, you will find that placer deposits means that the source, some minerals which are very costly, what happens is, suppose if the river moves them and takes them somewhere else, what do? We start collecting it wherever the river has taken. So what has happened, that gold bearing veins are existing in Brazil. Means the source of gold, if you ask me, is in Brazil. And where is the gold deposited? The placer deposit of gold is present in Ghana. Now Ghana is in Africa, and this placer deposit is in Africa, and gold is in South America. So this means once upon a time they must have been together. Another evidence was fossil. And what did he say? That there are different animals which are existing, and all those animals which he said, he took example of that in Madagascar, if you see, and Africa, you find some animals which like lemura. And so what do you find, that lemura is existing in and Mesoceras is also existing. Now where are they existing? They are existing in different continents. Imagine that these areas are separate, and the locations where their fossils have been found, they are existing in South Africa, and they are also existing in other areas, such as they are existing, one is South Africa, and other locality, if you notice, it says Brazil. So South Africa and Brazil, this means they must have been once upon a time together. So with this, so we have understood the concept of distribution of fossils. Alright, now the theory of Wegener, when Wegener gave this theory, his theory was rejected in the past, because he gave two facts regarding his theory, and those facts which he gave, they were not considered valid, and they said no, this cannot be possible. That is why in his lifetime the theory was rejected. One point he gave was that was about the polar fleeing force, and sorry, yeah. So what do we see? Polar fleeing force talks about the fact that the whole earth, this particular area, if this whole movement was taking place, then it was taking place because of polar fleeing force. And the second force it suggests is the tidal force. Now both these forces are considered to be very insignificant by the scientists of that time, and they said this cannot be possible. So his theory, which was such a nice theory, this theory was rejected. Alright, so we come back to how did this theory come back to a new revival, that we will be studying in the post drift studies. So if you go for the post drift studies, you will find that in the post drift studies, convectional current theory was given by a man called Arthur Holmes. Now Arthur Holmes suggested that there is some convectional currents that take place inside the earth, and they are happening inside the mantle, and because the earth is viscous, these currents are playing an important role. Why is this convectional current being generated? One reason he says is because of radioactive element existing inside the earth, because of that it may be existing. And Arthur Holmes says that this movement is taking place inside the earth, because of which the earth is moving. And then one more studies that was done was during the World War. What did we find? That during the World War we found that the features inside the earth, sorry, inside the sea, are quite different from what we see from our eyes today. So what he says, that these features also are different. So all these things suggested that maybe this theory has some facts in it. So we go in for a quick revision, and first thing that you should know is continental drift theory. Before this, you should know questions which we have discussed is the map makers who were there, then the evidences of the theory, and with this we can say thank you.